Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witches Box, and I'm here today with another episode of Witch Booktube. And today's video, I am literally recording this 30-40 minutes after we just got out of our Witches Book Coven gathering live for the September books. And it was just so good, so juicy. The books are so good that I thought I'm just gonna hop on, I'm gonna do this video, and I'm gonna just get it together, because I wanted to remember as much as I could about the conversations that we had. Tomas Prower, who is the author of the two books that we had, joined us, and it was a great conversation. So these two books, La Santa Muerte and Morbid Magic by Tomas Prower, were the September books that we sent out for our Witches Book subscription. And it was partly a choice out of just knowing that these books were really good. I had read them a few months ago and they were just phenomenal, but also because October's coming and we're entering into, or we're already in October, and we're entering into that time when we're spending time thinking about the dead, about our ancestors. Samhain for the Northern Hemisphere is up and we're here. And so it just kind of made sense to send them out for September. But it also made sense because we have covered a couple of topics that are almost considered a little too edgy, a little too taboo. For August, for our box, we sent out a hex box, and there was a little bit of pushback, like, oh no, I don't hex, I don't do that, I don't feel comfortable getting this box, can you switch it out, I don't want this box, I'm going to cancel for now and then pick up next month. Like, there was some pushback, there was some nervousness and some fear around the hex box. Then for October, we sent out spirit boards. We're working for spirit boards, and when I let that leak that that's what we were going to do, a little bit of pushback. Oh no, it's kind of scary. I can't handle that. I don't know. There was pushback on that. And then these books, specifically on death, we have two beefy books that are talking about death, worshiping death, making magic with death, different burial rituals around death around the world. And it kind of started to sound a little, dark and morbid. Here's the thing. I'll get to the books, but you know how I roll. I talk a lot, so work with me. The more we engage and we fuel that resistance in us of, I can't do that. That's too scary. I don't like that. That scares me. I'm not going to do that. Oh, I don't do that. The more you do that out of reaction that is based on fear and often incredible misinformation, or often in a deep dynamic of denial in society, especially when we're talking about death, we fuel our shadow. We fuel those parts of us that are in denial, that hold back, that don't look, that we don't let out to see the light of day because maybe we have fear or shame surrounding that. And we become more and more entrenched in our habit of reaction and not response. Okay, and by what I mean by that is that when you have all of this fear and denial and stuff in your unconscious mind, that will drive you more than your conscious mind. More than the things that you think that you intend to be, more than the things that you think that you really want to do. What's in the background, what we've got hidden in those little dark corners that we don't like to talk about, those fears, those shames, those wounds drive us in a way that we don't necessarily want, that may not necessarily serve us. Part of the reason why I had a hex box, part of the reason why we did the spirit board box, part of the reason why we did these books is because I want you to look at all of it. I want you to understand all of it before you react. We have way too much shit going on the planet out of these ignorant, yes, I said it, reactions to things that we're afraid of when we don't even understand them. And once we understand them and we are empowered to make fully informed choices, they don't drive us the way they did at all. And so part of picking these themes has been about that. Don't turn your face away. Look at things straight on. Learn as much as you can so that you know where you fit in the larger context of it, and then you can make choices for yourself. The hexing box was amazing. We talked about so many things. We talked about healing. We talked about banishing. We talked about appropriation. There was just so much there to learn that you would have missed out on had you really given into the whole, I can't. Do you know what I'm saying? The same thing goes for this topic. We all die. And it's uncomfortable. It's painful. All of us have lost people. And so just the idea of spending a month reading about death can be really daunting for people. But here is what I'm going to say. I want to jump in and say all of it at once. So let me, first of all, before I tell you what I want to say about these books, let me read to you the bio for the author. And then we're going to go into why death and why this is so important, especially as a pagan community. Okay, Tomas Prower is the international author of multiple books, including Queer Magic. He has lived and worked in Buenos Aires, Santiago de Chile, Tijuana, Reno, and Long Beach. Tomas is a licensed mortuary professional and has previously served as a cultural liaison between France, the United States, and the South American member states of Mercosur. I can't pronounce that very well. He lives in Los Angeles, California, and you can visit him online at www.tomasprower.com. Okay. Links to the book, links to his site will be down below. When we did our live just a little while ago, I'm riled up from it, can you tell? When we did our live a little while ago, my intention had been to talk about the Santa Muerte book first and then go into the Morbid Magic, but we just dove into Morbid Magic. This book is a look. So the subtitle to this book is Death, Spirituality, and Culture from Around the World. It's a look at not all, but most cultures, a lot of cultures around the world, and how they deal with their dead, their dying, their burial, their not burial, rituals and deities and things around death. And it was really powerful for a couple of reasons, because one of the things that you learn very quickly is that what we in the West consider our traditional way of doing things isn't the only way. And I think that one of the reasons why books like this are so important is because it gets us out of our head and out of the idea that this is the only thing in the world, when there's an entire variety of ways of dealing with one of life's most sacred rites of passage. It's a rite of passage. And so in this book, you get to see countless, so many. He puts so much in this book. And then in our live, we talked about how there were things that he had to let go and not put in the book because the book would have been too large, right? And a lot of us were like, no, please give us huge books. We want the big books. But you get to see so much of the different ways of looking at death, the different ways of approaching it, the different ways of preparing the body, why you would do it a certain way, who gets to see the body, who doesn't. There's so much, so very, very different than the way we do it, that it really allows us to understand that we're just one in a sea of variety and ways of dealing with things, whether they are sacred or mundane or both. It's really beautiful. The other thing that he brings up throughout the book are a couple of different exercises and questions. And one of them really in the very beginning is really important, is be responsible. Take responsibility for the whole of your life. And that includes when you die and when you're dead. Leave a will, leave instructions. How do you want your body to be taken care of or prepared for funeral, burial? What do you want? What do you want to have done with your stuff? These are things that are important. We don't pay attention to this. We're afraid of dying. We avoid it at all costs. We don't take responsibility for ourselves. And when we die, often family members are left with their grief and the chaos of having to manage the entirety of someone's life that's left, their possessions, their legalities, their finances, their all those things. We live in a constant denial of this thing happening. We rarely, if ever, talk about it. There are families that now they're talking about it more. We are now having a resurgence in death doulas, which I think is a beautiful service. It's a beautiful, if that is your calling, it is truly a profound and important path to walk. We are doing that more and more, but it's still the common culture to just separate ourselves. Someone dies, you don't actually prepare your loved one's body. You don't tend to your loved one's body. You send it off to a mortuary who, and we're going to get a little graphic for 5 seconds, your insides are taken out. You're embalmed with this fake, unnatural fluid. You have makeup put on you so that you look like you've never looked before. You're put in a casket that costs a lot of money, and then that casket is put in a cement block, and then that cement block is put in the ground. We are deeply disconnected. Oh my God, so disconnected from what is essentially a sacred and holy transition. So reading a book like this starts to shake it up a little bit, starts to really give us an idea of there are so many ways of doing it, and cultures that are older, cultures that are not necessarily as detached from the death process as we are in the Western world, have more room and more space for the sacred in that process. Really, such an important topic, but it's also he did a great job with this book. It's really so informative. I recommend it. I gave this a 4, I think, on Goodreads the other day. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm going to move it and give it a 5 because I read it so long ago that now I'm looking it back. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That was this thing and that thing. And it was just really, really well done. Tomas did a beautiful job on this. So we went from this topic naturally to talking about La Santa Muerte. And La Santa Muerte is basically the Grim Reaper. And her resurgence or her immersion, or her emergence has come in Mexico. And that is kind of like the birthing place of her. She's come there. One of the beautiful things about working with La Santa Muerte is not only is she accessible to everyone, but the reason why is what I think where the power in working with La Santa Muerte is, because there is no white, brown, there is no rich, moral, immoral. There's no merit system with her. She is utterly and completely impartial. She will work with you, whether you are a criminal, a murderer, a saint, super altruistic, feeding the planet, or drug cartel, like drug lord. It doesn't matter. She will work with you because we all die. And in that way, we are all equal. We're all the same. And she operates in a way where she treats us that way. We are all the same. You want help from her, she will help you. You've murdered 5 people and you need her help, she will help you. There's no merit. There's no one person more worthy than the other. She is there in a very neutral, very detached way, very consistent way. And there's a lot of discomfort around that and working with that, but there's also something really powerful in meditating on that level of neutrality. It's really beautiful. So this book really tells you who she is, goes through the correspondences, goes through the history, goes through all the different rituals and spells that you can do with her. It's worth a read just to be in that discomfort or that uncomfortable place of what would it be like for a deity to work with everyone without issuing merit and worthiness to one and not the other because of the way they live their lives. Death is the common factor. It's the leveling of the playing field. We are all the same in that energetic. We all die. And that's how she approaches us. That's how we approach her. She will be there for all of us. I find that to be really remarkable. I find that to be one of those uncomfortable brain itches that makes you think outside of the usual paradigm that we work with, where you're either worthy or you're not. And your worthiness will then, this is the belief, we tend to believe that our worthiness is going to get us more favor from a deity or an entity than if we weren't worthy. And so we do a lot of anxious work around being worthy. What does that look like? And as opposed to, we're all the same, man. It doesn't matter who you are and what you do. She's there for you because she's always with you. Because it's not just at the end of your life that there's death. There's death every single day. When you say goodbye to something, when you end a book, when you end a year of your life, when you're at the end of a life phase, a relationship, something dies, and in that instant something is born, a different part of you, a different phase, a different episode. She's there. And on top of the fact that she's there every step of the way, not just at the end of your life, but that she's there for everyone to co-create magic, I think is just really a powerful shift in paradigm that can really serve us if we dwell in even just the thinking about it for a while. So, I mean, I don't know, I can say so much. We have very few of these books left. It's probably very likely that by the time this video is out, they're sold out because you guys are just eating these books up, which I'm so thrilled about. But if they are for sale, the link to them will be below. If you buy them from us, then you get a link to the video so that you can check out the recording of our gathering with Tomas and the talks that we had. I mean, these were really great books. It was a really good reading month, and next month is actually going to be a really great reading month as well. I think that this video is coming out on October 12th. That means that you have 3 days to subscribe to the book subscription. The link is below, in order to ensure that you're going to get the books that are sent out for November. You want to be in that live, and you also want to get those books because we have the authors that are joining us. There's going to be like a little something going on there. We've got some fun going on, but it's also a really great book month. We're just really getting some juicy books. There you go. that was the book review for today. Thank you for hanging out with me. I would love to hear down below, have you worked with La Santa Muerte before? Have you read these books? If you haven't, please do, but I'd love to hear your comments down below, and I will see you next week. Bye.